Everyone, welcome to the town of Newmarket. Newmarket, New England. No state in particular. It's just in New England. It's not really in a state. It's in between this. It's somewhere in between New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island. It's somewhere in there. It's just in there. Don't worry about it. This is a covered bridge. Just for a little information about the area, covered bridges are kind of a big deal. This is actually vanilla. Fun fact about the game. If you take the wooden road, if you take the standard vanilla 2-lane gravel road and elevate it with a bridge, or if you're in vanilla completely, no mods, you can build over water to get this result. It automatically makes a covered bridge, which is really cool. I'd love to find a custom one. If anyone can help me find a custom covered bridge, that would be great. But for now, that vanilla covered bridge is looking pretty good. But New England is filthy with these, and the point is, water rolls off the sides so the trusses of the bridge don't get weathered by water, because a bridge life is only a few years unless you cover it, and then if you cover it, it lasts like a lifetime, forever. I just want to share with you where we're at right now. This is not ignore the death, ignore the problems here. Let me pause the game again. I've selected the buildings for Main Street. That's what this actually is, and I'm going to end up colorizing them a little bit closer so the bricks match a little bit better. But this is a mood board of the whole scenario. We've got schools, town halls, courthouses, grocery stores, post office. We've got churches. We've got a bunch of what I have deemed New England-looking buildings. Not all of these are actually New England assets, but it doesn't really matter. It's more the feeling that you get. I've got 3 different types of Dunkin' Donuts. That's about as New England as a covered bridge or people looking at the leaves in fall. These are all very New England things. The library, actually, the vanilla library looks fantastic. And a motel is pretty classic. As cars came into the scene, you want a motel in your place. I've got a couple different types of motel. Not all of them are nice, but I would say that motels are also generally not very nice places. So that's cool. Post office, a couple gas stations. Gas stations are important here as well. I forget what that one is, but it looks cool. Oh, that's electricity. That's a power station. Church. I've got several different churches, funeral home, a couple Walgreens. So this is the DNA of New England town. None of these are residential, but I'd like to start doing Main Street right now and figuring out how this city comes together and how it's going to look. Let me show you my ideas. So after episode 0, after the recording and editing was done, I fixed the highway and reduced it down to a 4-lane situation and reduced that huge interchange down to this small half-diamond type situation. So now we're on to the actual Main Street. So the road that it's going to be made of, the network, is this 2-lane wide road, 16-meter wide road with room for 60-degree angled parking down it. It's really great. It's got trees built in. It's in homage to my hometown of Lancaster, New Hampshire, actually. So Lancaster is a strong inspiration for this build, my hometown in New England. I also looked at places like New London in New Hampshire. What else? There's actually a place called Newmarket in New Hampshire, though this doesn't look anything like that Newmarket. There's several Newmarkets in that area, so I picked a very New England-sounding name for this city. Welcome to Newmarket, right? I picked a gas station. This is just me getting my bearings and kind of finding a spot to begin. I figured I'd pick something simple like a gas station, a little bit of parking, put a road around it. And it's going to be right in that main intersection because I imagine maybe there was something there in the past that got replaced by a gas station, some old irrelevant building related to industry when the industry left. And cars were on the rise by that time, so it's like, all right, get rid of that old warehouse. We'll demolish that. We'll put in a gas station. Churches are essential in New England towns. Churches are common and plentiful. There's many of them. So I picked a church called New England Church, which made the most sense. And I've got like 4 or 5 others that will make appearances in this area. But this is just me figuring out the parking lot, figuring out what's going on. Just to tell you up front, I actually filmed about 2 or 3 episodes of content. So this is episode 1, and I get pretty far in this probably 25 to 30 minute video. I get pretty far into the town, And then episode 2, it evolves further. I thought I was filming episode 1 at the time. Little did I know how much I had actually done, how much ground I had actually covered. The parking lots are really unique. I believe it's Dragon Rider is how you pronounce it. These parking lots are just ploppable little parks, and they're fully modular. So it's not as committal as like a big parking lots or a parking lot roads. Because I've found that parking lot roads and big parking lots, I end up making bigger parking lots than necessary. But with these little modular ones, I can do some little tricks, little trixies to keep them more compact and a bit more realistic. Unfortunately, I don't have a good way to remove the curb to allow cars. You'll notice that there's a curb on all of the road networks. I don't have a way to remove that currently. I'll have to download a network to remove it in the future. Hopefully I remember. But there's the church with the parking lot. Oh, you'll also see me using this little dark, tattered-looking road. You see it there by the church, and you'll see it at the gas station as well. That's actually the parking lot road's drive road. So keep an eye out for that. That's my go-to, like, generic road. This is a motel. I just kind of stashed it over here. It's a good spot for it, as I keep pulling things from the mood board and moving the mood board. All of the inspiration pieces. I found it's really hard to remember, like, what do you want to include in the build? And if you leave all the stuff, like, you can go into the workshop and download assets all day, but if you don't remember that you have them, my God, how many times have you downloaded the best asset and then totally forgot that it was in your inventory? I also snuck a post office in on the corner there. That gets moved, so I haven't really talked about it, so don't worry about that. This is a fire department. Speaking of getting moved, this poor fire department over the course of this series gets gets moved several times. But this is me checking it out and saying, like, how can parking fit with the fire department? We'll end up putting the police department near it also. But right now, the name of the game is get all of those assets off of that temporary holding space and try to roughly place them and just experiment with where things belong. And things will move. The library doesn't move. A lot of the things don't move, but it's important to have points of reference, and I didn't want to have all of the main buildings grouped together in a big lump, because that's not how a city looks. You don't just lump them, all of your best buildings. You end up putting good stuff a bit separate and spaced out, and then filling in, what goes in the middle. Maybe some wall-to-wall commercial brick buildings and things like that. So here's that Dragon Rider pack again. And it comes with electric parking space, like electric car charging spaces, and it comes with accessibility spaces. And they're all 1 unit wide strips of parking in different lengths. So you can get a lot of diverse results with it. And I don't want to overemphasize the parking. I hate that I'm saying this, because I build a lot of parking because cities like this require parking spaces, but I'm not doing it on purpose. Like, I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm doing it because the library needs, you got to have like 20 or 30 parking spots out in front of the library. That's just how it is in a town of this size. We don't need multiple libraries probably, but we will need strong parking at this one, because it's going to be the only library in this little section of town. Maybe on the ocean front we'll have some bigger, Beantown looking stuff. Beantown, if you feel me. Maybe. Don't hold me to it. I don't want to go overboard. I'm trying to keep this kind of cute for now. Kind of a cute little town. So I added a drop-off area, some paths to the front. This is all probably going to shift around in the future, but I've got some walking paths so people can get in well, so they can get in easily. And I left space for a plaza in the bottom right corner there. That green space is going to have maybe a fountain or a statue or something in front of the library. And I realized when it was all said and done that the library is not connected to a road. So watch what I do. Actually, I have a cute little solution to this. I say, all right, forget the roundabout. I bet if I make that a corner, it'll connect. I bet myself. I remember saying, I bet that'll work. And it did. I bought myself that 1 extra inch. So this is our medical center. This is the hospital of the town. I imagined that there would be a better equipped, probably regional hospital that people would go for serious things, but that's just a small medical center. And I think the asset is it's even called like UK Medical Center. But I'm comfortable with bricks. Anything made of bricks is a go in our little city. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. The workshop doesn't have every single asset that I need, nor do I have the ability right now to create assets yet. And I'm not going to really commission anything for this build. I'm okay taking assets that look right and feel right and spoke to me in the moment and just sticking with that. Like, let's not split hairs. Like, what? It's made of bricks. It's made of bricks. Let's be real. It works. Another parking lot. So the medical center, I decided to do something different with the parking lot. I realized that there's this door or set of doors in the middle. And I said, if I can get an accessibility space right next to those doors and make a symmetrical, I think I have to add another road to do it. Yeah, another parking lot road. That black road there is the parking lot road I was talking about. It's just a generic, good, kind of tattered looking road, which makes sense for my purposes. So I've left space there, and then we can, I'm just going to borrow these. Ready? Oh no, they weren't long enough. So I need a 7 unit long, I think. Maybe 6 units long. And you can just put these back to back. They're so versatile. I may use parking lot roads in sections of the city, and there are spots where they would probably look better. But I've found that parking lots and city skylines just make these big, dark patches that just suck all the light in. Like they don't add as much as I'd like. So I found that like letting the parking sit on top of pavement is okay for me. Now, what do I pick? The police station. I remember putting this near the fire department and figuring out a small parking scenario for that and looking at the fire department and making decisions. There's really no reason to put parking at these places. They only hold a few jobs each. They do hold jobs, if you didn't know. Each of the buildings, even the ones that don't show how many jobs they have, so the hospitals, the services, you know, the dump, the garbage service, the fire department, they all employ people. In real life, obviously, they employ people, but in the game as well, there's like hidden attributes where they actually employ people. So the parking, though, you don't need to overwhelm it with parking necessarily. I'm just trying to be consistent, and all of these places have room for parking in real life. Something else that I changed over the course of this is that I intended... Let's talk about mods for a second. Some of the mods that I'm using include realistic population and ploppable Rico, so I can convert unique buildings into Rico buildings. And that's good. That helps a lot. Something else that I do for realism is I usually turn on realistic parking, and I swore I wasn't going to do that this time. I said, I'm not going to worry about parking on this one. Realistic parking makes it too hard. It makes parking overemphasized. And at some point during this, I realized I can do it. I said I can do it with the way that I've been carefully curating the parking and carefully being aware of how many buildings I'm putting up. By the end of what I've filmed thus far, so you'll see more cars in an episode or two. You'll see a lot more cars. They will be adhering to realistic parking in Traffic Manager, which means that they have to drive around and find a parking space, because I really want these spots to fill up somewhat. If it becomes a problem, I'll turn it back off. An issue that I have with realistic parking... Oh, this is cool. I'll talk about the issue I have in a second if I remember. But I threw in some police car props because I've got these like 60s, like a 67, whatever it is, Impala cruisers. I thought it was funny to have like old police cruisers. Like, oh, they couldn't afford to upgrade their cars, so they're using these classic cars. Honestly, most of them are using Crown Vics at this point, I assume, but I could be wrong. So realistic parking, it overdoes the parking, in my opinion, because a lot of major cities have underground parking that we can't effectively do in city skylines. So I've found that sometimes it detracts from the experience for me, and it overwhelms the city in a way that's unrealistic. In New York, if you go to New York City, a lot of buildings have garages underneath them, and this game just doesn't give you a way to do that effectively. Not easily, at least. I've seen people do it, but not not without a fight, not without a bit of challenge. This building is actually a courthouse by name, though we might think of it as a town hall. I'm wrestling with these ideas. Courthouse, town hall, what's the difference? Functionally, they're totally different, but as far as what they look like, that could be a town hall. That could be a courthouse. Who knows? I don't know. It's whatever we want. I left a plaza in front of it on purpose, though, so that's some green space. We're gonna have a park with a gazebo in it. You'll get to see that in a moment. And this is me trying to center the thing. I want it to be in the middle before we establish where the parking is going to go. The parking, it's important to me to keep up with parking because that informs the road network and how the road network will work around the buildings. If I hard put the buildings right up to the roads all the time, it ends up more crowded than things look like in real life. And it becomes unrealistic to my eye. So I'd rather let it breathe a little bit and leave a bit of parking space because this is still a automobile-based society in New England, in America. We're very much automobile-based. New England's no exception. We've got a couple trains up there, kind of. Not really. Like Boston has some stuff. There's no really good regional system, though. Maybe buses. I will have buses in this city. We're definitely going to have a school bus system and maybe something else. Right now, there's no point in having a bus because everything is within walking distance of one another. And old. This town would have been designed pre-automobile. Ignore the parking spaces for a second. It would have been established pre-automobile, so everything is mixed use. At least it will be. You'll see shortly here. Once Main Street gets going, the actual buildings, the wall-to-wall buildings, there's going to be a lot of commercial and a lot of residential on Main Street, as it is in small-town America. You're living on Main Street, you're working, you're shopping, you're within walking distance of a school, potentially, depending on where you live. You're within walking distance of your doctor, perhaps. In Lancaster, I lived a bit out of town, but if I had lived in the town, it was maybe a 5-minute drive into town. Not bad. Close enough that I rode my bike. I biked into town as a kid. Probably as a 13-year-old, I was biking into town and hanging out with friends and stuff. But I could have, if I lived in town, I could have walked to anywhere. I could have walked to the hospital. I could have walked to the dentist. I could have walked to school. I just didn't live in town, so I had to ride the bus. So this is that park I was alluding to. We've got a nice custom gazebo asset, and this is me fiddling with where the circle is going to go and what the circle is going to go. This is one iteration that gets deleted and refined, and this is me like, where are those nodes? Where's that node? Can I refine it? Can I make it better? The path network is actually by Klus, or Klus. Shoot, I don't know how to pronounce his name. But he makes beautiful paths, beautiful assets, beautiful buildings, beautiful networks, really great work. And this is me realizing that we can just make it a circle. Oh, nope, I haven't realized it yet. I have the knowledge. I recorded this a couple hours ago, so I have the foresight, or I have the hindsight, rather, to know what resulted from this. And I'm hoping I edited out most of my goofs while still showing the process. I think the beauty of this format that I'm kind of sliding into, where I get to voice over what I've already done, is that I have the benefit of hindsight rather than rambling. I get to ramble still. Make no mistake, this is a ramble. Right now, as I place the bushes on screen, I'm rambling at you. But I have the benefit of knowing what the result was of all of these shenanigans. I'm detailing a little bit right now, but the city is very much in need of detail currently, in its current state. I've done buildings and parking lots and roads, but things are very much not complete yet. Visually at least. It's functional. We have functional things going on, but visually it's going to need a lot more trees. I want it to look cohesive with the rest of the map, as if the trees grew in the town over time, and really refine it in a good way. You're not going to get to see that yet. That has not come to fruition yet, but I want to have some crazy cinematics by the end of this. I want to have some, like, some really good stuff. I'm always trying to push the envelope within myself, and this is going to be a testament to that, hopefully. We got these neat little ruffly flags. I don't know what they're called. Little bunchy flags. I don't think most places leave these flags up all the time. In this case, I think the picture of the gazebo came with flags on it, so I was like, dude, I'm getting those flags. We're going to put the flags up. But I think they usually come down after 4th of July. Unless your place is real patriotic. I don't know. I think in Lancaster we probably took them down. Oh, there's the funeral home. So this is our hearse factory. That's not what a funeral home really is, but this is our death care for the city. A bit more effective than just a cemetery. And as I said, I'd like to do a non-functional, just a detailed cemetery at some point. Oh, at this point I realized that some of my roads were probably going to be a bit more major than I gave them credit for, so I've upgraded them to the large road. So I'd like to have a visual hierarchy where you can see how high the traffic is going to be on the road, at least in theory. This is me making up the hierarchy right now. But the little parking lot road is just a connector road. The road with the yellow median, that 2-lane US road with yellow median from the big, it's called small roads within the big urban roads pack. That's my go-to US road. You'll see it all over the place except where the parking lot roads are. And then the main street has its own hierarchy too. I want the main street to pop out so you know this is Main Street. This is it. We've got parking on the street. We want you to come shop. We want you to buy our wares, buy our goods, please. Tour here, because Lord knows the industry moved away years ago. It's a big thing. I talked about it in episode 0, but it's a real big problem in New England. So we had the benefit of kicking off the Industrial Revolution in our area, mostly in Massachusetts initially, but that moved around a lot. That went all over the place, and eventually we were making textiles and everything: textiles, paper, shoes, you name it. New England had the waterways to ship stuff, and also waterways to run the water wheels and the ice to make stuff cold when we needed, and just the connectivity required, and everybody in the same place. Really good scenario. But then it became much cheaper to make stuff elsewhere, and that's how it goes. That's the way the ball bounces. So now it's largely tourism based. I would say tourism, probably other things too. I'm sure there's a lot going on, but at least where I'm from, we've got skiing, we've got snowmobiling, snow machining as we call it. We've got a bunch of stuff. We've got scenery. We've got hiking, mountains, rivers. It's very beautiful and very economically in recovery, we'll say, recovering from its Industrial Revolution hangover, a lot of it, as the jobs have largely moved away, in the rural parts at least. Back to the map though, this is the high school. This is going to be our high school, and a very, very nice brick building, and I'm going to fiddle with the parking spots a bit. On this one, I'm always trying to be cognizant of the accessibility spots, because I think it looks better. The game doesn't acknowledge this at all, but I just think it looks much better if you break up the monotony by having the accessibility spots in the right place. And this time I decided to put them right in front of the door. And I'll probably add a crossing there for functionality, though we don't really need to. In future episodes, you'll see that I mark up this whole place with crossings. We go crazy with intersection marking tool and node controller, and we get a bunch of crosswalks going all over the road, and it adds a lot, honestly. Adding custom crosswalks, the vanilla ones look super wonky to me. The vanilla ones look all diagonal and kind of strange. Now this is the middle school, or the elementary school. This is a smaller school. We'll probably have several elementary schools, so maybe 2 or 3 elementary schools per high school would make sense. I actually went to a regional high school personally, so there were many elementary schools, drove very far to get to my high school. Fortunately, it was fairly close to where I lived, but that was quite the thing. In this city, it's going to be much more compact, where we'll have, this area will be small but dense, and we'll probably need 2 or 3 elementary schools. Maybe a second high school, but But I think in New England, it's very, very typical in a small town like this to have one major high school or even drive over to the next town to go to high school. Pretty common. We are nearing the end of this one, and I want to say thank you for being here. Thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, liking the video. Leave a comment if you'd like. If you have a question or a suggestion, or you just want to say, hey, what's up, Yumble, yo? Feel free to leave a comment. Do what you got to do. I've also got a Discord community going on. We've got a Twitch community. I stream twice a week, so please drop by on Twitch. And of course, there's always Instagram and Twitter if you'd like. But I really appreciate you being here and enjoying the videos. This series is going to be something else. I'm very happy with this. Everybody, thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next stream or the next video.